US, billionaires being created in the technology sector. They're often under 35 and they can be found in places like Silicon Valley. Some have opted to list their companies and are now bearing the brunt of a huge sell-off in tech shares. Yet the same trend hasn't happened on the African continent. Our tech entrepreneurs tend to like to fly below the radar. They keep things a little bit more secretive. This is The Moneymakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield, and joining me to discuss the phenomenon, Gil Oved, the co-founder and group co-chief executive of the Creative Counsel, and Rob Sussman, the co-founder and joint chief executive of Integrate, with an 8 at the end. Both of these are also members of the YPO. You guys know each other?
Yes, very well, indeed.
We go way back, actually.
14 years.
14
Longer,
years.
16 years even.
But what was it that connected you 14 years ago?
So both of us sold a company in the dot-com era.
So independently you sold companies?
Independently, dot-com time. We both built businesses. We were acquired. I suppose you also offer a lot of money for your business in that time. You're in 20s.
In our minds, we were internet millionaires. It was fantastic.
Yes, internet millionaires, going to become billionaires, and sold in the dot-com time. And
who did you sell to?
It was a company back then which was called Acronym.
Acronym.
It was like a holding company for IT investments.
And so you guys were given shares in this business, Acronym.
We actually just had our shares bought into by Acronym.
Okay.
They were investing in our technology, in our concept and everything. And 3 years later...
I've not heard of Acronym.
Yes, because it imploded in the bust part of the boom and bust of internet.
DIED.
So that was set down to do quite a big tech listing in that time. We did a cash and share deal. We tried to do more shares and less cash.
Because hey, this is a boom
because that's what you wanted.
Yes.
But we settled for cash and shares, and unfortunately the company didn't list and funded themselves and didn't make it through the dot bomb.
So fortunately you had a bit of cash. You both then went in different directions. I think one of the Levies went in a different direction. Done okay. He went the listing route. Were you guys badly traumatized by the process though, Gil? I mean, you look at, you're younger. Yeah. You're still very young, both of you. But you were much, much younger then. You were in your 20s.
Yeah.
Big ideas, big hope. This was the new world.
Yeah.
You go into a vehicle that's going to list and it doesn't happen. Did that put you off for life?
Oh, we were devastated. Literally depressed. We couldn't get out of bed. It was so bad. Seriously. And, it's funny in retrospect now because we were young, but in our minds we had failed dismally and it was the end of it. Like literally this is your career gone down the drain. But a lot of learnings came out of that failure. And the main one is that I really believe that breakdowns equal breakthroughs. And you don't want to hear it when you're having the breakdown.
You can say, you're 14 years older, you can say it now.
Yeah, but it's a true fact. Very often that's the case.
What were the big lessons from that for you though, Rob?
The big lessons. So we saw how not to do business. We saw how difficult it was to start a business, and we saw that it was much more difficult actually to keep the business. So keeping the business became something that we focused on it from day one. Also, we also noticed that it was all about people, and people do business with people. It wasn't about businesses doing business with other businesses. Mm-hmm. So we very much, from the ground up, we built a very people-centric business.
Okay.
I think you have to make sure that you don't buy your own sales pitch rubbish.
No, but
and they kind of did.
Both of you have grown substantial businesses. You got what, turnovers of $1 billion?
700.
Okay, pushing towards $1 billion, three quarters of $1 billion rand. How big's yours?
So in the entire group now, there's 7,500 people, and they'll do $6.5 billion.
I mean, it's extraordinary businesses that have grown from small scales. But now, you take something like Adrian Gore, for example, who was on the show the other day, and I said to him, you made a big and crucial decision to sell massive amounts of equity to get RMB's backing 23 years ago. Today, you're worth probably between 8 and 10 billion rand, courtesy of the growth that has come through from, and his personal capacity, because he's got about 10% of Discovery still. Do you not sort of look at that sort of, you go, we can go with this business so much bigger, so much faster, with a big dog on side?
Absolutely. I think that in South Africa, if we look at it, the entire ecosystem to support startups and entrepreneurs when it comes to VCs and series rounds doesn't exist like it exists on the west coast of the US. So we have to work that much harder to achieve the same. We're also quite proud in South Africa that we've produced some of the world's biggest entrepreneurs, guys like Elon Musk.
And they've gone over there to do it. We haven't kept them.
Correct. So they've gone over there to do it. And not only have they gone over there to do it, but their investments are over there.
Yeah.
So you even look at guys like the founders of IS, a guy like David Frankel, who went to the US. He's now in Boston, and he's got one of the 5 biggest tech funds in the world running in the US, investing into the US. So that is unfortunate, and that is something that we have to deal with.
And you sit in a South African environment, of course, which is a limited ecosystem. Let's use the jargon. Do you not look at it and you go, come on, we've got to get bigger than this? Because you guys are hungry. You've still got 50 years of work left in you.
Well, I mean, I think the big opportunity is the African continent. We've got to get into that in a big way. I'm sure Rob's already there. We kind of making tracks. But that's the exciting part, and because I think we have a unique vantage point on the African continent, and we don't often use it. I find that a lot of young startup entrepreneurs have the passion, the hunger, the ambition, but they don't have the access, and they don't think in terms of scalability. So when you talk about businesses like Rob's, there aren't many guys who think about scalability the way he does.
Yeah, but also you're losing control of your destiny to a large extent. You're going through a sale process right now. You're not going through a listing process, but do you drive the business in the same way as you have for the last 15 years into the next 15 years? Or suddenly do you have to actually get a tie?
I think if you're looking to do any kind of sale of a business, it's because you want to have aligned vision for the future of the business, and you want to go to the next S-curve. So you want to kind of find partners that can help you take it to the next quantum. What I know is that we've tried to get into Africa. We tried 3 times and failed 3 times.
Yeah.
Because it's not for sissies. It's quite funny because we talk about being in Africa. We are actually in Africa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
North of our borders. It's the cop-out line, yes.
Yeah, but you need people who have local knowledge and experience and partnerships and trust. You can take your IP, you can take your systems, your processes, but at the end of the day, you need people on the ground, you know what they're doing. And that on your own equity is scary.
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you where we're seeing quite a big opportunity. So while a lot of the high-tech entrepreneurs leave South Africa to go abroad, we're seeing quite a big opportunity to expand north into Africa, and we have actually expanded north. We're seeing quite a big opportunity.
Is 10% of your business outside of South Africa?
Slightly more than 10%.
Okay.
So what we do is we find an opportunity for American companies that want to expand into Africa, okay, but they don't want to take that risk. So what they will do is they will go in together with a South African business that has got exposure to Africa. Because as Gil actually says, is the people, the culture, how they do business. It's very different doing business in South Africa and Africa than it is to doing business abroad.
What gets you guys jets lighted still? I mean, you like doing deals. I mean, you employ 7,500 people. I can't think of a job much harder than that. You're far behind that one, Gil, but you still employ quite a few hundred.
Yeah, so we employ 1,100 full-time staff, but thousands, 15,000 plus per year of temps. And most of those guys are considered unemployable by the economy. And I hate that term, unemployable. Unemployable until you upskill them and then you turn things around.
You're proving the point, yes.
But for me, what gets me going is creating employment. I mean, that's a big deal. That's very exciting, and even though it's a huge responsibility, it's really awesome. But other than that, we're in one of the most exciting industries in the world. Advertising, and we're in the middle of this non-traditional, ever-changing, dynamic style of advertising that merges digital and social media and on-the-ground activations. And I mean, what could be nicer than coming to the office every day and wondering, basically saying, I have no idea what I'm doing today, but I'm going to make something exciting happen.
I mean, it is. We are in an exciting era and an exciting time. Is it best to do it independently? Is it best to do it below the radar? So many companies. We look at the various listings booms over the years. The creation of Alt-X, and it was going to bring companies like yours onto the market, learn the ropes, raise the capital, grow and thrive. Very few of those companies have actually graduated. It's not a great ad for listing.
No, I think it's an education process as well. I mean, if I look at some of the things that we did right and did wrong, and we did a lot of things wrong, and we did a couple of things right, some of the things, and I was always very proud that we were privately owned and privately funded and grew to a certain point and never took on partners and never did any VC fundings, and we had no mentors or we had no external advisors. But in hindsight, I think that was a mistake. I think we could have done a lot better, a lot
So how do you
sooner,
change it now?
and failed forwards. So you learn from your mistakes, and as I say, you actually fail forwards. So I think with our next venture, I think that's what it will be about.
What's the next venture going to be?
That you'll have to wait and see.
How long will you have to wait and see?
Not too long.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, but it will be, you know, I believe, as you say, the marketing and the advertising space is exciting. I think everyone's very clear. The tech opportunity on this continent is massive.
A lonely place. I mean, we talk about the ecosystem being small. Everybody knows each other. You guys work together, and you know, don't you sort of feel quite isolated? Don't you ever get tempted to go, you know what? Bugger this, I'm going to go off and, sorry, that's a rude word on television. Forget this. I'm going to go off and go and do something in the big bad world. I really want to test my mettle in a more competitive environment.
To some extent, yes, but I don't find it lonely at all. I think it's exciting to know people and connect the dots, and that's really the essence of business, isn't it? I mean, you learn in textbooks, you learn about the theory, but the reality of business is who you know and how you're able to work together and create value out of nothing. I love that. I rely on my network.
And we were just talking outside, and we're saying like that business is tough. It really is tough, and people say it's tough, but you know, it really is. It's hard, and it's hard every single day, and it's always a fight. So while things appear to be going well, things are going nice and all that, you're fighting every day for it. And as I said earlier, I mean, to start the business was okay, but to keep it every single day is a fight.
Yeah.
And especially if you want to keep that growth going.
I chatted to Johnny Clegg on the show about a while back as well, and so he was talking about his business interests. And Johnny Clegg, he dances around and he sings songs, but he's invested in like environmental companies and all sorts of things. He describes as, he says, I pull a long train. And you say to him, but Johnny, don't you want to take it easy and live off the royalties? I pull a long train. Yeah. You pull a blimmin' long train. You both pull long trains. I mean, there are people whose livelihoods, whose families depend on you. Yeah. That's a huge burden to bear.
Yeah, you can never forget about that part. I mean, even you get to a certain point where you've made enough money to not worry about the day-to-day expenses, and then you start realizing that you've got thousands of people and their livelihoods, their families' livelihoods, their careers dependent on you. And we've always had this policy, this zero retrenchment policy in advertising that's very abnormal. But I've always thought that for as long as you do good work for me, you should be guaranteed a job.
And what is exciting is to watch, as you actually say, is to watch people learn and grow. That is amazing. It's an amazing experience.
Gil Oved, the co-founder and group co-chief executive of the Creative Counsel, and Rob Sussman, the co-founder and joint chief executive of Integrate. Maybe they only do half days and their mates do the other half day. There's got to be a secret to this working together. There'll be more watching for great entrepreneurs and more money makers tomorrow. Till then, good night and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.